a post, and you can share on your Facebook. So are you logged into your Facebook as well?
I will be right now on my phone.
Yeah. So just when it just go to my profile when it shows up that we are live, just share.
Okay. Meetings
So
being live streamed.
I want to make sure. So we are live. And I can confirm that from my Facebook. I am seeing that. So I'm so excited today. I am with Wade. Wade is one of the top producer here in. Let me just close my Facebook from here because it's creating echo here. Got it. So we are live streaming. I'm with Wade. We are going to do a very like a mind-blowing show, which is all about California real estate. And Wade will be sharing his knowledge and his expertise in the show to guide people in the right direction. And let me introduce Wade little bit. Wade is a top producer in his area in California from last like 12 plus years. I was so understand that. And now my phone is saying even that they cannot understand how that is happening. Like the Siri was start talking anytime they want.
Yeah,
So
actually
where
over
has this
30 years now.
more than more than 30, like 34 years, right?
34 years.
And I was like, when I learned like the recent award that you earned, like that was such a like I was like so surprised. Like you are such a successful, and you are not sharing that value or not doing videos. And people need to learn and hear about like you can guide them and show them how they
Thank
can
you.
also make so much money, and seller can get so much money selling, and investor get so much money. So, well, I will be keep talking with you. Tell me, like, first of all, how you came into real estate, first of all, like how many years back?
Yeah, 1988 goes back that far. But I'll tell you, as a young man, I watched my brother-in-law succeed in real estate, Hudia, and I watched him. I thought, gosh, what's that secret ingredient? They're so successful, and I noticed that he really cared for people. He was very personable, worked long hours. And so he kept encouraging me. He's like, you should really get into real estate, Wade. I think you'd be good at this. And I said, oh, thank you. At the time I was working for United Parcel Service and loading trucks to pay for my college education. And since then, I spent about 7 years with UPS and went into management. And then ironically, my uncle, who was also in real estate, but he was in more of the distress sales element of it, a lot of the tax sales and foreclosures. And he said, why don't you come to work with me? I'll teach you the ropes. And I thought, all right, that's really cool. So I left after 7 years. I thought I was going to retire at UPS, but blood brown, if you will. But I finally, went to work with him, and it was great. I learned so much. I learned quickly, though. I didn't want to be as much around the foreclosures and stuff. I really wanted to more, make it more positive and help people. Yeah. So I immediately got my real estate license and, went to work as selling regular residential sales. Since then, over the years, I had an interest in investments and buying investments myself. And, but I still enjoy selling both regular residential and investment real estate.
So tell me, Wade, you told me that like normally when you are very successful, people think like you were always like that. So you shared something like that you lost everything back when like 10 years back, and you rebuild yourself. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, from the outside, I probably look pretty successful. I worked long hours. By age 43, I was a millionaire. And then I was doing quite well from that point. I kept accumulating more real estate and was earning high real estate commissions. It was pretty well diversified in all areas. And then, I really went through a terrible divorce. It was 8 years of legal battles. And then right at the tail end of that, we went through that recession. And so literally I went from millionaire to broke millionaire at age 43 to broke at age 51. And I literally had to start all over. I had to start really analyzing this. And like, gosh, what's life about? all this work and for what? And then, realizing I'm not getting any younger and I do want to retire someday. So I just started putting my, head back to the grindstone, if you will. And I just focused on, learning about asset protection, how to make the money and then how to protect the assets to keep the money. And then about 5 years later, I fell in love once again with a lovely lady, and we're both very happily married. We enjoy our lives together. We have a great life together. And I've been a lot more conservative about my approach. Went through a lot of schooling to, become really educated in all aspects of real estate and asset protection. And I feel like I have a lot to offer to the world. I could show them how I acquired it, how I lost it, and how to protect themselves so they don't
Yeah.
lose.
So where is a real example that how to like start all over again from scratch? So if we all making excuses that because of this, because of that, because of this, so here he is, like he is the chairman excellent award winner from exp, and like I will be mentioning those things because I want other realtors to get inspired by who you are and how you have build yourself, and you lost it all and then you start all over again. And now today, after like almost 10 years, now you are like a double diamond award and you're doing very well, and you are like taking 2 licenses in other states as well right now, like.
Yeah, my wife and I, we own multiple properties in multiple states. And, I am now getting my real estate broker's license in the state of Tennessee. We have other properties in other states surrounding that state as well.
So tell me, Wade, I put few questions here. It's like all those down times when you like lost everything. What did you learn? Like the 3 things, if you want to tell, like what was the core lessons from that experience you have? You want to
Yeah,
know?
thank you.
Everybody should know about. Yeah.
Well, I'd say, life has its way of, creating humility. So I would say, plan for rainy days. Don't go too fast. The old tortoise and the hare. The tortoise always wins the race, if you will. And just being able to look at the assets and make sure that each one of those assets are bringing in a positive cash flow, not anything that would be a negative cash flow or a catastrophic event that could thwart all your efforts. So what I mean by that is there's ways to set up entities to protect your assets in the event of failures with finances, health issues, divorce, what have you. There are ways to set that up to where these attorneys and everybody else can't just attack all your assets.
And one more thing I want to mention about you, that now because of your own experience, you told me that you were helping people to do these things for free for them as well, selling, buying for free for them. And you have another business on the side, like a home advocate, where you help the sellers who are just similar situation you were at back then, so that they can sell gracefully and you negotiate for them the price and everything with the bank. Like, please share a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, sure. But if we go back just quickly, so that was, the 3 things. The second thing I would say is my belief in God. I always had hope in God that things would get better. So I think when you combine that with just being consistent and educating yourself, learning, what not to do, and then surrounding yourself with people that have done it. I'm highly motivated myself, but when life kicks you, you need to be around the people that support you. So I would say that would be the other element, whether it's friends, loved ones, family members, church members, as well as professionals, people that are very successful. Surround yourself by them, and be willing to be transparent with people that are safe, if you will, so you can get that help. That no man's an island, the old saying. So I'm sorry, what was your next question there, Julia?
But what was the third one? Like I understand, like you want them people to be ready for the rainy days. Then you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
them to surround themselves with the good people. So a
Yeah.
little bit like, which was the third one?
I hope
Did you
and
just share two,
faith,
or there was
faith in
one more?
God, my faith in my creator
Yes, yes.
as a
Three things
Christian.
like Wade mentioned: have faith in God, be ready and prepare yourself for the rainy down days, and third is surround yourself with the people that will lift you up and will push you up when you are going
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. And never quit.
Yes.
You know, Winston Churchill was right when he had that phrase, coined that phrase in the midst of all the attack with Germany. Never quit, never, never, never quit. You know, and that it's so true. Today it just seems like when in the midst of our troubles, it seems like we're never going to get out of this abyss.
Yeah.
But if you just stick to it, the true tried principles, be persistent and have hope, you know. So
Yeah, I read
yes,
a quote.
I'm
I
sorry.
will come to
Please.
that question again. But I read a quote, what you're mentioning related to that as well. Like I read, like, you don't fail when you fall down. You fail when you don't get up.
Excellent. That's
So
right.
so that
Yeah.
was very nice in these two lines. Yeah, I was asking about
Go
that
forward.
home advocate that you're doing business on the
Yeah.
side. What
Yeah.
is that?
Well, you know, this is in 34 years. This is now my fourth real estate cycle that I'm entering. And, you know, so I've been through the recessionary cycles. I've been through you know, the really boom years as well, of course. But back in the 90s, I started becoming educated with bank owned properties. And so I was doing the REOs, real estate owned. I would approach the banks and get accounts with them to sell dispose of their assets, if you will. They call non-performing assets on their books, foreclosures. Um, and then came this infamous, you know, financial debacle in 2007, 2008, 2009, which actually went all the way into 2012. So a lot of homeowners were upside down on their mortgage. That is, they owed more on their
Yeah.
mortgage than the house was valued, you know, what the houses were. So I became pretty good at doing short sales. I did over 120 short sales during that time frame, where we'd help people, the homeowners. We'd go to the banks and negotiate the banks to discount the mortgage to cover the brokerage fee, the closing costs, and all that. That's where the word short is. The lender would reduce the loan balance. They would take a short on the
Mm.
loan balance. And then I
Yeah.
would negotiate a moving allowance for the borrower so that restore their dignity, you know, where they could. And then I had staff team members that would go find them a rental property and you know, help them get into the rental property. And then the beauty of it is now that we've gone this full cycle, I've been able
Yeah.
to help these people that had, you know, bad credit. We have a credit cleaning company that assisted them to raise their FICO scores, put them into new homes, you know. So it's been a great process to watch that, you know, from start to finish, and watch people have hope once again themselves, like I got. I know, where they can start their lives all over again. I'm afraid that we might be going back into that cycle. The good news is right now we have most homeowners have a lot of equity in their homes, but for
Mm.
those people that bought recently, you know, they might not be so fortunate, you know, and may have to do short sales in the future. We'll
So
see.
if somebody wants more information about this program, where they should go and check it out.
Yeah, I have a website, homeadvocates.net, and it gives them, it explains the process, what their options are. It doesn't just automatically have to be a short Zahodia. There's lenders that will, you know, work out forbearance programs, even give deeds in lieu of foreclosure. You know, there's a lot of different steps and options that people can have. And the website does a nice job in explaining what their options are, what forms that they'll be necessary to use. Just explains in detail the various
Yeah.
processes.
So if anybody needs the details, they can reach out Wade on his phone number as well, and you can check out homeadvocates.net, right? So
Yes,
yeah, you
that'd
can
be great.
reach out and you can check out and can call as well if somebody needs that help on his number that is showing up under his name as well. So
Yeah.
so wait, tell me, what are the secrets of success? So now, if the realtors are seeing this, what you are sharing about your life, the things that you have achieved and experiences you have, so
Yeah.
what are the truly, you would say, like secrets of success for any realtor who want to go fast?
Yeah, I would say that Real estate is the highest paying, hardest job and the lowest paying, easiest job. You decide on where you want to be in that spectrum, Hudia. So in the beginning, you just have to pay your dues. You're going to have to learn. They talk about the 4 levels of competency in any profession. The first level, what we call the unconscious incompetent. We're new. We don't even know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then, over time, we start realizing, gosh, I don't really know what I'm doing. That's when we would call ourselves the conscious incompetent.
Yeah.
Over time, we start learning sales techniques, skills, understanding how escrow, title, mortgage works, how, the contracts themselves, how to safeguard, how to protect your client, from a lawsuit. That's what we call the conscious competent. Now you're getting pretty good at it. You're feeling pretty good about yourself, and all right, I understand this now. But over time, to get real mastery, they say it takes about 10,000 hours or more in any, and I'd say it's,
Anything you want to learn, yeah.
yeah, I'd say it's probably 10 times that to really get to that mastery stage where it's unconscious. And that's the last phase of competency, is the unconscious competent. You ever notice you run into somebody and they'll just do something so effortlessly, and they do it, with skill and perfection. You go, how'd you do that? And they go, I don't know, just do it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, because they've done it so long and so many times that it's just ingrained in their mind subconsciously.
But what new realtors should do if they like now they have like how they can do it faster? Is there any advice
You
you will
know,
give them?
yeah, I think that it's real important that people, have a balanced lifestyle. It's really easy to just go full board, and then, your spouse, is the one that suffers, or your children suffer. So, um, I would say make sure to, first thing is, have a schedule and calendar your life, your vacations, that make that the very first thing you want to put in your schedule. Your time with your wife, your spouse, husband, what have you. Pencil that in, but don't forget the people who helped get you to where you are. It's
Yeah.
real important that they say we're human beings, we're not human doings. We're not made of
Yes. Yes.
steel. And so I think if you first and foremost will plan that and stick to it, have a schedule, really, I'd say a real estate professional needs to spend the morning hours prospecting. And there's so many different ways to prospect, we call lead generation, whatever you want to call that. But in the morning, there's less distractions. We have more energy. I would put
Yeah.
that in the schedule. Then I would have a time frame to learn your inventory. In the afternoons, I would schedule time to go out and preview properties to fully understand them. And then I would follow up on all the leads in the afternoon. And then, if you have still had some free time, that's where you want to get into your education. You might read a great book, or go onto a webinar, or, take a class on something that you don't really have that specific knowledge in yet, but you're interested, or you don't want to make a mistake, so it's like, I better learn that, client asks you a
Yeah.
question, you don't really know how to answer it.
Yeah,
um,
it's very important. Yeah, even for what you're learning, it's very important to understand this is the right thing that you should learn now, or this is something else that you should be doing instead.
yeah, right. There's really no magic pill. Everybody out there in these sales companies claim to have this magic pill, and I have to tell you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what works for one person, Hudia, may not work for another.
Yes.
Some people
Yeah.
don't like, they don't like to cold call or something like that. They feel like it's,
Yes. Everybody's
invading in
personal.
somebody's, and I
Yeah.
respect that. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean they can't hold open houses, whether it's their listing or another
Yeah.
listing.
There are tons of ways for to generate leads and get more
Yeah,
business. Yeah. But if
absolutely.
you're willing to do, willing to burn, willing to put extra hour time and are committed, so then you will make it happen.
Yeah. And
But
lastly, I say learn what is current in the market. Like now we're in a shifting market where homeowners are scared. The majority of homeowners today have mortgages that are below 4.5%, right? And you're looking
yeah,
at interest rates today that are close to 7%. Well, what's incentive for somebody to sell their house and go get a new mortgage much higher than what they currently have? So there's that
yeah,
hunkering down effect that's going on right now. So
yeah,
knowing that, how do you help somebody that needs to buy or wants to buy or sell in a marketplace where there's a lot of
yeah,
fear? And the old
yeah,
saying, the confused mind does nothing. So they're just kind of frozen and wanting to watch what's going on in the marketplace. I would say learn okay, as an agent, there are programs right now for a buyer where a seller that has to sell, that wants to sell and realizes they don't want to keep lowering their price. Maybe they can go in and offer a 3-2-1 buy down or a 2-1 buy down, where they can literally buy down the interest rate for the buyer, knowing that once inflation is tamed, once we get inflation under control, Hudia, the interest rates are going to follow suit and they're going to go back down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So most people think it's going to happen within a 2-year period. You're going to see a substantial drop in the interest rate. So a 2-1 buy down today, it starts at 4.75% interest rate. And then year 2, it goes to 5.75%. And then years 3 through 30, it goes to 6.75%. That could save a borrower, $1,800, $2,000 a month on their mortgage on a $900,000 house. It matters. It may make all the difference in the world. If things get really bad, I mean, back in the early 90s, Hudia, we used to do contracts to sale and lease options and equity shares. What do all these things mean? A contract to sale, a seller has a 3.5% 30-year fixed rate mortgage and they lose their job, they have to sell. Buyer would love to buy their property, but they're just like, I can't afford it at 8% or 7%.
Yeah, interest rates were very high at that
So you
time. Yeah.
just take over that seller's existing 3.5% interest rate. There's
So quickly, just tell me, what is your prediction that what's gonna happen in next? Like, is the like when rates gonna come down or it will be
yeah.
increasing? Like, what is your prediction?
Well, first off, my crystal ball broke years ago. All right. But if we were to follow the pundits and the experts, I follow several people. Stephen Thomas does a lot of quantitative easing, economic quantitative easing degree. He has a report for real estate agents called Reports on Housing. If you go to reportsonhousing.com, it's like $150 a year. He has great data because that's what he does. He spends time analyzing the local market. That's for Orange County, California. He does Southern California stats as well. He's moving into other counties. But by knowing what's going on, you can actually see that his data is showing that there's going to be a substantial drop in certain cities, certain counties. Goldman Sachs is saying right now that we're probably looking at about a 5 to 10% drop in prices in the next 12 months, and they're using United States, all of United States figures. The California Association of Realtors, Mr. Levine is a chief economist over there. He's saying that California is going to have an 8.8% drop over the next 12 months. Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, he's saying the United States will see a 1.1% increase in prices. So who's right? Right now, he did.
It's good. I understand now why your crystal ball was like broken now. I understand now.
Right. You can go online and you can watch some video, go to YouTube, and these people act like they know it all. And this is definitely going to happen. And then at the end, it's like, and if you want more, you want to buy my book, click on this. It's like, please, I hate to see people, following some bad advice. I can tell you this after owning dozens and dozens of homes and investment properties over the years. The very best thing you could do is buy at any time, knowing that you cannot time the market and hold it long term. If you bought a property today, Hudia, and it drops 8.8% in the next 12 months, if you're not going to sell it and it's giving you a positive cash flow, does it really matter?
Doesn't, yeah.
No, you get all these different economic benefits from owning rental real estate. I mean, just residential real estate, you get the pride of home ownership that you're going to live in. You get appreciation over time. But if you're an investor, you get depreciation on the building. You get the leverage factor where you can buy a large asset with as little as 20% down as a non-owner occupied, or even less if a seller carries paper. You can, I'm looking at all these options. You have the loan pay down over time. You have rents that are constantly going up, no matter what the economy is. People always have to live somewhere, right? If we go into a deep depression and everybody loses, their jobs or whatever, they still have to live somewhere. They're going to figure it out. They're going to find a way, to make enough money to pay for the rent. So I highly encourage people to not get hung up on trying to time this market. it's impossible. If the rates, if the house goes, if you're gonna move, sell in the next 2 years, then I'd say, yeah, if you're not gonna just buy it as an investment, you were just gonna live in it and then sell it again later in a couple of years, I'd say don't do it, right? But if you're gonna keep this as a long-term home to live in or an investment long-term for cash flow and tax benefits, then just find the deals. And I have deals are coming up left and right now. Right now, I
Yeah,
just
I will be coming to your quickly like share
yeah,
like for the
sure,
deal
sure.
section. Yeah, so we will be having three segments in this show. The today is just like we are just having introductory conversation like in a casual way. Well, it will be casual always. So
Good.
first always will be about market updates, and then it will be about some deals that Wade will bring up for buyers, sellers, and investors as well. What was the third? Like how to get rich with real estate. The Wade will also be sharing some programs that he is working on that will help you get rich with real estate, like this, or like
Great.
he
Yeah.
has a very interesting program like retire forex faster.
Yeah. Retire 4 to 5 times faster than your traditional methods, Hudia. When I say
Yeah,
traditional methods, I'm talking about, a lot of people think they just have to save and save to retire. And quite candidly, it's pretty much impossible for most people. The fact is, matter that 65% of the population will never be able to retire. It's sad. It's a fact. So I contend that that doesn't have to be, that there are ways that you can actually leverage this to retire much faster than a 401k or stocks or bonds or crypto or gold and silver or any other asset that's out there right now. That, in my opinion, real estate is the safest and the fastest road to acquire wealth and retire early. I've done it, and
cool.
trust me, I've tried everything under the sun. If I told you all the other investments I've made over the years, you'd just be going, wow, okay. I
Cool.
see why
Yeah,
he's so confident in his assertion.
for sure. Now tell me a little bit. Do you want to go over a little bit about California market, like what's going on, the trends
Sure,
and the
I'll be
numbers?
happy to.
Yeah, please share quickly if you
Okay.
have like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do so, Hudia. Yeah. So this first slide here, it's essentially just showing you the California market. As you can see, our sales are down 30.2% year over year, and since January, it's dropped 16.5%. We're seeing prices at 821, 680. What's interesting, it's showing, right here, 1.6% year to year of, appreciation from the prior year. But really, I mean, we were in the 28%. Now it's dropped to this. So we've pretty
Yeah.
much evaporated all our equity over the last 12 months, the appreciation, I should say, over the last 12 months. The unsold inventory right now in California is at 2.9 months. And then our median days on market now is 22 days. We're seeing the market time climb a little bit, but not a lot, which I think is interesting. And I think it all has to do because of the supply. This just shows you the median price between condos and single family. So we can see that we're seeing California last year it was 600,000, and now it's 620 today. What else is interesting? This is a forecast from the California Association of Realtors. As you can see, I think I already pointed that out. They're forecasting an 8.8% drop. This shows you the prior years of appreciation and
Yeah.
depreciation. The one thing I want to keep an eye on here is the housing affordability index. That does concern me a little as well. When you start getting into the teens, that's when you start seeing trouble. If you go back in 08, that's when we started that 19%, 16%. And as you can see, we're getting into that same issue with affordability index. with those interest rate increases there.
Yeah.
The let's see here, what else do I want to show you as it pertains to Southern California. This is just a snapshot of Southern California. You can see the unsold inventory index is now at 3 months. Their list to sales price ratio is at 97.8%. And most people say that's pretty good. You know, you're gonna net, you know, your home's gonna sell within 2.2% of the asking price. You know, that's pretty good. But you got to remember here, back in March, this index was closer to like 103%. So 3% of the asking price.
Yeah.
And if we go into Orange County, it got as high as 105.5%. So now we're, you know, below 100%. So we can see that homes are obviously on the market longer, and they are selling for under the asking price now on average versus at or over the asking price. You know, here's some Orange County inventory right now. It's showing it now sits at 3656. This slide right here is from Reports on Housing. That was Stephen Thomas, who I had mentioned before. Inventory was 49% lower last year. So we're seeing a little bit of an increase in the inventory, but nevertheless, it's still, that's a very low number.
Very low, yeah, as compared to.
Historically, you know, what's going on in the marketplace. As we look at Orange County demand, that tells us what's pending, what's currently in escrow. So we see we're down 11% over prior month. It dropped 11%, but since last September, it's dropped 31%.
Oh.
And so you can see demand was 91% greater. In other words, there was 91% more sales last year than this year. You can see on this graph, this orange fruity is where we're at today. And then the blue up here, this was last year. So
so in a layman person view, like my kind of person, like the sellers don't want to sell, buyer don't want to buy. That is what happening.
They're sitting on this, they have a holding pattern. Now here's the great news is that, you know, my team and I have been able to help people really negotiate great deals. I mean, we just put one into escrow, and the appraisal came in $165,000 more than what that, you know, buyer is under contract. So you know, there are some really good opportunities that are coming to the surface now for people that are motivated, that need to sell. You know, so I just really encourage buyers to look at the big picture, keep that in mind. You could get locations now, you know, some great locations where you couldn't before, whereas you had to, you know, compete with 10, 12 different offers. So there really are some good opportunities. Some properties have been on the market for multiple days, and buyers, you know, may be thinking, what's wrong with this home? Well, it may need sprucing up, may need facelift, it may need paint, carpet, flooring, you know, but it's in a great lot location. So this is where you maybe get a closing cost allowance from a seller that would cover the repairs and the beautification. And now you got a great home in a you know, superior location. And that's the old saying, location, location, location. Those are the three biggest factors in real estate.
Yeah. Yes. And lastly, like if you were having some deals that you want to share, like.
Sure. Yeah. I would love to share.
Buyers, sellers, we will be having last segment of our show will always be about deals, special deal of the week. So that we will be sharing that. Today it get a little longer because I want to introduce and want to share a little bit about Wade's story and background as well. So
thank you. So this property right here, this is a triplex. Julia.
We cannot, we are not sharing screen. I cannot see.
Oh, okay. Let's try again here. Sorry about that.
No problem.
How's that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Trust me, I'm a better realtor than I am a techie person.
We all are like that. Don't worry.
So this property I want to share with you, Hudia, this is a 3-unit building here in Orange County, California. And the asking price is 875,000, and that might scare some people from other states. But when you see the final details on it, I think you'll understand why I say that it's a very good opportunity, and multiple reasons. Each one of the units are separately metered, meaning they have their own electric, gas, and water meters, which is nice. So they don't have to, tenants don't have to share the bills, or the landlord, pay for that bill. And as we look at that, as far as numbers, anybody that understands, investments, and how we're always looking to comparing different alternate investments that are out there, this property offers a 7% capitalization rate. And what that means is if somebody just paid cash, they'd be getting 7% on their money, and that's pre-tax benefits, as we discussed briefly before. So the internal rate of return on that is 32.5%, which would be very difficult for somebody to mirror that in an alternate investment. What I like about this property right here is the fact that it's given a tremendous cash flow. It's bringing in $82,800 a year, and it actually could get higher number, because one of the units is a little lower rent than it should be.
Yeah.
So that being said, you look at these opportunities here and you say, okay, I'm going to get a 7% pre-tax on my money, just as it stands right now with its asking price, without any negotiating on that property. And if I'm a buyer today, what kind of buyer could I be for this? Well, we already talked about the cash, the buy down. If a seller is to invest about $15,000, they can buy your interest rate down, so you'd have even a higher cash flow from those units. That would bring probably the first year, probably another $1,400 a month. So it's substantial, that you can work on these buy downs. Another thing is what we call house hacking. A fantastic opportunity for somebody that's like, you know what, these prices are just too high here in Orange County. I can't get into a property. Well, you can get an FHA loan right now if you're going to live in the property, which they call a principal residence. It's up to 1 to 4 units. You can get an FHA loan with as little as 3.5% down. And the beauty of it, if the property needs work and rehabilitation, they have what's known as a 203K loan, where the lender will actually loan you money to rehab the property. They'll just add that to the loan once, it'll appraise, and they'll just add it to the loan. So it's no added money out of your pockets. You completely rehab the property, raise your rents, and then you have the other tenants. If it's 3 units, you live in one, and you have the other tenants making your payments on the other 2 properties.
Let me talk to you once we are done with the Zoom.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great opportunity to get rich, to build your wealth. And
Oh my
the
God.
other thing is, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
No, it's just I was just saying that I think some laws are different here in Toronto, Canada, and
Yeah,
that
you're in
some
Canada.
more options we have in USA. Because when I see different trainings, investing videos through Grant Cardones and these kind of people, like they're talking about few things that does not apply. I see few of the things does not apply here. But I think
Yeah,
the US have more option. If like you are a smart realtor, there are a lot of things you can help your buyer sellers to. There's so many solutions available for them.
yeah. And I don't know the Canadian laws and whatnot. I would just say, come on over here, jump in, the water's warm. America
Yeah,
will want
for sure.
somebody willing to contribute like yourself.
Sure, sure. Any other, that's the only special property you have to do, or anything else you want
I
to
have
share?
several, I do. I don't know how much time we have together. I'm more than
Yeah.
happy.
Yes,
Here.
we will share some next week. Today
Yeah,
was our first time and we were just getting comfortable. I'm getting comfortable. Wade is getting comfortable. We're doing it first
thank
time.
you.
and we will be using next time different platform as well for going live. Thank you very much for watching, and for any question, wait, please share your number and how people can find you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the interview. The easiest way would be on my toll-free number. It's easy to remember. It's 1-800-440-WADE. That's 1-800-440-9233 on your touchpad, or you can email me at wade@wadewright.com. And I'm happy to have any conversation with you. If I can help, it'd be great.
Thank you very much, Wade, for your time. It was pleasure learning more about you, and I really enjoy learning from you
Thank
all
you.
this.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah, I think in coming days I will be learning a lot of real estate terms as well, and I will be very much knowledge as well.
I'll be
So
honored.
yeah, we will be coming back every Wednesday. It's a 7 p.m. PST, and it's EST is like it's 10 p.m. right now here in Toronto local time. So we'll coming back every week at the same time, and we'll be sharing value, and Wade will be sharing some special properties and knowledge that will help you grow and be rich using real estate tools.
It'd be my honor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, take
Thank
care.
you.